Hi there, this is Suzy from Addi Loomers and Knits. Today I'm making a video on how to make mittens on the Addi Express Professional. You will need 2 pieces of waste yarn, about 5-6 inches, your main yarn. Okay, I'm using an acrylic. It's the soft acrylics from Burnett. It's a Burnett Premium. Something equivalent to this would be like a Red Heart Love. Super Saver is not something that Addi seems to like. You also need another piece of waste yarn for about 5 rows. The cuff on the mittens is the same kind of method that we use for the Addi Express brim hat. It is folded up in the same manner. We will also be flat knitting back and forth. If you're not familiar in how to flat knit, I do have a video for that, and I will post it in the instructions at the bottom of this video or the description. Okay, let's start. On and off like normal. And we will clear our counter because we are going to do 5 rows. This is so we can pick up our stitches easier, because we're going to place them over the needles once we have knitted 50 rows. Okay, we've done 5. Put that aside. Take your main yarn. I would suggest that you make a slip knot. Okay, placing the knot behind the needle. This acts as your first yarn that normally you have in front of your needle. Acts the same thing. That's to make it a little more secure. Okay, now start your row counter again, and we are going to do 50 rows for this cuff. Now you can adjust that to whatever you want. If you don't want a wide cuff, make less rows. It's really up to you, but you do need enough to fold over. You can also do this in a different way. If you hand knit, you can take 6mm knitting needles. Okay, knit in the round, so maybe a circular knitting needle, like knit 2, purl 2, and you put on enough stitches to match the Addi Express Pro. Then you will finish off with waste yarn, so you're able to place onto the Addi. There are many ways that you can use yarn crafts in combination with the Addi machine. You're not just limited to the machine. Okay, let's continue on. We're going to make 50 rows. Never go fast on your machine. A nice even pace, holding your left hand. Your left hand should be holding your yarn as it feeds, so the tension is even. This helps so your stitches do not drop. If you don't hold on to your yarn, chances are you will drop stitches. Some people will say, well, my counter is always messing up and it counts in twos or whatever. Well, that's not normal. It is normal. The counter is affected by, especially acrylics, static. So you can use a dryer sheet underneath your yarn as it's feeding. Use the humidifier in the room that you're using your machine in. There are many different things that you can do to try and rectify that. I have a document in the files. I think it's called Counter Problem Solutions. So this is going to be like we do in the brim hat, where we take the stitches that we have the waste yarn on and fold it, putting on the stitches, and then the cuff is knitted right into your mitten. The thumb will be made in a flat panel style. It will be folded over, knitted into the mitt, but you do have to sew the sides of the mitt, sides of the the thumb. That is the only sewing there is in this whole project. And just like socks, you have to make two. You want to make a child's mitt, less rows. You have to come up with your own combinations. This is just a technique that I am showing you. Okay, we're coming up to 49. 50. Let's not go too far now. Okay. Let's reset our counter right now. Okay. Now, we are going to reach inside, take our wasted yarn, okay, see where we started. If you're not sure, you just follow that line up until you find your stitch. Okay. So my first stitch, all right, and your stitch, remember the slip knot? It usually is easy to find that too because there's a knot, right? So this would be my first stitch. There's the knot, my first stitch. So what I do, place it on the needle. It goes, okay, I'll put this up. It goes down here in front of the teeth, okay? Your feeding yarn goes in front of the top of the hook there. Okay, now what you're going to do is you're going to do that for all the stitches that you have on your wasted yarn. Okay, so this is why we have our stitches this way, so we can see the stitches easier. So I use a loom pick. You can use a needle, whatever you have that will help you lift up the stitches from that. Then I also push down with my thumb to make sure those stitches are down below the lip of the needle, okay, as it knits. Okay. Next stitch is this one. The next one. Again. It's knitting as I'm going around, eh? Next stitch. Oops. White is not easy to see with this rose color. I don't recommend it because my main color has got white in with the gray. So when choosing a waste yarn, try and find a contrasting color that really stands out, make it a lot easier. And if your project becomes too tight and you haven't picked up the right stitches, but usually when you use waste yarn, it sort of prohibits that problem. Oops. Okay. Now if the strands for the waste yarn on the outside, the strand from the main yarn can go inside this cuff, or you can hide it later. It's really up to you. You're going to have to tuck in your ends anyways. I'll try and feed mine in there. Come on, you get in there. Okay. Okay, so we got them all? Yeah, good. All right, the first round is usually the hardest because you have to watch these stitches. They all have to drop underneath the lip. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about this thing here. Okay, so we're going to do, reset your counter, and we're going to do 12 rounds before we do our thumb, okay? So go slow on the first round to make sure that each one of these stitches drop. See how they drop? That's so you don't lose any stitches, you don't get a tuck stitch. Everything is knitted just right. If it gets stuck above, take your needle or loom hook, like this one is up, and you knock it down. Ooh, this one's up. See how it's up? Bring it down. I think my counter is off. I don't think I'm at 4. I think I'm at 3. Always got to watch that counter, eh? Okay. That's 5. Now it says 5. So my counter doesn't mess up again. I'll be going to 13, but you do 12 rows. Okay, normally when it says 12 you would stop, but my counter is off 1. So, okay, now clear it. All right, now we are going to start doing our thumb. Now our thumb is done with panel knitting. Okay, so we're going to knit the first 6 stitches and then come back. In coming back, okay, you will see that 3 stitches you'll hear it click 3 times, okay? That means 3 of them have been released. So what we do is we use a piece of waste yarn to secure those stitches so we don't lose them, okay? So let's start. You'll see what I mean. We're going to knit the first 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? And for panel knitting, you know that after the last stitch, we go past that red knob. When the stitch goes down, we return. Now you're going to hear these 3 click off. All right, see they clicked off? You're going to take a piece of waste yarn, put it through your red darning needle, and this is 7, 8, and 9. And if you're lost, it says it right on the red there, okay? So you're going to start from the last stitch, okay? So 9, 8, and 7. This is so we do not lose these stitches, and we're going to place them back on later. So we're going to continue going back the other way, okay, until we get to the first needle. Going past that red knob because we're doing flat panel, and we're going to return. Now it releases these 3 stitches again, all right? So you have 20, 21, and 22. Okay, so these 3, okay, 20, 20, 21, 22, you are going to put them on waste yarn so we don't lose those stitches. The waste yarn is just merely just to secure so we can put those back on after we're finished creating our thumb. So we put yarn on the needle and simply go from from 20, 21, and 22. They are secure on waste yarn. So now we're just going to knit those 6 stitches back and forth for 25 rows, I believe. Let me just check. Yeah, 25 rows, okay? I'm on the second row. Remember I told you reset your counter? Well, now I'm on the second row. Your 25th row will be going towards the left. If you're off, okay, then you might have to do another row. You can adjust the size of your thumb as much as you want, depending how big your thumb is. But for me, I am putting it at 25 rows. I'm on my second going left. Going after that red knob and coming back. Past the red knob, coming back. Remember always to give that a little tug so the edges are tight. I'm making sure that this is, see, it's stuck up, it's down before we go back. I'm going on my 7th row. Your 25 should always end on the left because we're going to do circular afterwards, picking up those stitches. Okay, so that's my 25. All right, now I am going to pick up those stitches that were placed on the waste yarn. There's 3 of them, and there's 3 empty needles. So one at a time, first one, I'm going to take, and I'm going to place it back onto that needle. Be careful not to twist the stitches, okay? And you're going to be knitting towards the left. We're going to go circular now because we're finished the thumb. When you're picking them up, try not split the yarn. See, that's split. Easier said than done sometimes, eh? Come on, you. Here we go. So your stitch is here. It's right underneath the waist yarn. Maybe pulling up it will help. Here we go. Alright, so now they're all back on the needle on this side. Alright, now we're going to knit around until we reach the other empty spot. Okay, now you have 3 pieces or 3 stitches on here too. And you're going to place them back up. So 1, try not to put the waist yarn back on the needle, if all possible. Okay, and the last one. I mean, the waist yarn is right underneath the stitch. And place that back on. Okay. Leave your waist yarn on the outside. This is your thumb, by the way. Okay, so we're going to knit around. Okay. Reset your counter. And I'm going to knit around, for the length of my hand, I figured about 30 rows. You can adjust it to the length you want. It could be short if you want a child size, or if your hand is smaller. Also depends on the yarn, as you know. So let's start. Okay. 30 rows. Remember, you can always add colors, stripes, intarsia, whatever you want with your mitts. Feel free to improvise. Almost there. Okay, there's my 30. Also remember, if you're going to do different numbers, to write it down so you can do the same for the next mitt. Okay, so we're just going to cast off like normal. So feed your yarn in your knitting needle, in your darning needle. Okay, and start removing it. Back to front. I usually do 3 at a time. I've seen bigger darning needles, the plastic one, and you can usually take more off. But you sure don't want to be bothered by drop stitches about right now, so better safe than sorry. I believe I got one more, right? Oh, bugger, doesn't want to come off. Okay. So, now you just gather it together the way you normally would when you're making a hat, pulling it through. And what I like to do is I like to do this from the inside. So let's zoom out a bit here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. Come on. Okay. So I'm going to put that needle in there. Inside of my mitt. What I like to do is just basically go around that area a little bit before I put a knot. Whatever you normally do. It's just the way I do it. Okay, so you secure it. Maybe you want to put a couple of knots just to make sure it doesn't come apart. And there you have it. Now you just have to take out your waste yarn. It's from your thumb. Ah, I got split. This is what happens when you split the yarn in with your main yarn. Okay, now the fun part. You can save the waste yarn, but in this case, I'm just going to get rid of it. Okay? Okay, you take your waste yarn off, and you take your mitt. Now what you have to do, this is your mitt, thumb I mean, your thumb. You're going to be sewing that up like mattress stitch or something, okay? And basically when it's finished, okay, this is going to be all sewn up, and that is your mitten, or I have one finished here. Okay, this is the mitt. Can you see that? Okay, that's the mitt. And I made a long cuff because normally what I do is I like to fold mine up a bit, like so. Well, there you have it. That's how you make your mitten. If you don't know how to do mattress stitch to sew up the sides here, there are plenty of videos on YouTube in showing you that way. Or graft, or just sew back and forth, as long as you do with the darning needle and the yarn that you made your mitten out of. And don't forget to make a second one. So give me a thumbs up if you appreciate the video. And until next time, have a good day. Bye.